Hi everyone, and welcome to the DeHart house. My name is Alicia and I'm your host of this crafty channel here on YouTube. My doggy co-host is right here wanting attention. Let me just give you a glimpse of what Marjorie's putting me through right now. There she is at my feet, grunting, telling me, "You have to pet me." She was sitting, now she's laying down, which means there's no way I'm gonna reach down all the way to the floor to pet her. So she's just gonna have to deal with my foot petting her. Not sure how long we're gonna keep this setup up, but yes. She could sense that I was about to record, setting up my camera and stuff, even though I'm out in the dining room instead of in my craft room, but she's smart like that. She knows all the sounds of what it sounds like when we put our shoes on and what it sounds like. She can tell when I'm putting on my slip-on sandals to go in the back versus putting on my tennis shoes. So when she hears me slip on my sandals, she comes running. She's like, "I gotta go out in the backyard with you." Do you guys have pets that do that? Like they know the specific sound of certain things you do in preface to an activity that they want to be involved in? It's kind of funny. Anyway, it's the last day in July, July 31st, and I have not spoken to you guys in a really long time. A lot has happened, and I don't know, I just feel really overwhelmed trying to get caught up, to be honest. Like, I've fallen so far behind on my podcasting, YouTubing. Can I even call it podcasting if I only post to YouTube? I don't know. But yeah, I've got the June makes. I didn't talk about my June makes. It's now the last day in July, so I've got July makes. I've got progress I'm making on my summer makes. I'm planning my fall and winter gardens. I'm starting to harvest things out of my spring/summer garden, and it's just super busy here at the house. But also I went to Texas for 2.5 weeks, I think it ended up being. So I'm in Washington State. I'm in the greater Seattle area is where I'm located. And my parents live in Texas. And because I used to live in Texas, and they moved out there to be closer to me. And then I moved to Washington. Full disclosure, they knew that was happening. We had told them we were job hunting to move out of the hot dryness of where we were living, and we wanted to be somewhere with mountains and water and all of the fun outdoorsy things to do. So we moved here. But anyway, my mom had ankle replacement surgery, so she had a lot of arthritis in probably both of her ankles, but one of them was particularly bad. Also, bone spurs, so extra bone growth. If you think of the spur on the back of a cowboy boot, no, it wasn't growing out the back of her foot like that, but a bone growth kind of similar to that, where it kind of grows out in an abnormal way, and it was actually blocking her ankle joint movement, and had grown over the years, and plus the arthritis and just things, right? So she finally decided to take the doctor's advice and have an ankle replacement surgery. I don't know how long they've been talking about it. It seems like a long time to me. But because I teach for a living and I chose not to teach this summer, I have the privilege of choosing whether or not to take on a class in the summertime. I teach at a 2-year college, and yeah, I was like, nah, I need to take the summer off. Number one, I want to be able to help support my family as mom goes through the surgery. So I said, if you can do it in the summertime, I'll be there, and I'll do whatever driving, cleaning, shopping, medical stuff other than, like, I don't know that I could give her a shot, honestly, because she has a lot of anxiety about getting shots, and I also never watch when the nurse gives me a shot. So I don't know that I want to give someone a shot, but you know what I mean. So I was there. I took knitting with me. I did make a little bit of knitting progress, but mostly I kept it to something pretty mindless, and I'm super glad I packed this project, because there's no, it's just knitting. It's stockinette stitch in the round, and so I could literally drop it at any point and go help when I was needed. So that was really great. But I also got to spend time with family. So yes, I helped out mom, but I also got to hang out with mom and dad. I got to hang out with my sister and her family, my nephews, my new brother-in-law, new to me because they got married and I didn't get to meet him for a while. But anyway, so it was a good time. Now I'm back home, and of course I get back home and I'm like, there's a million things I have to do because I have this large vegetable garden in the backyard, which my husband has kept alive for me and thriving while I was gone. They here in Washington experienced a heat wave in July, which I guess was already normal before we got here, or is becoming normal now. I don't know, but you know, like 90-degree weather, close to the hundreds. We installed a heat pump in our house last year, which also cools the house in the summer. So basically we have central AC, which I do with air quotes because it's technically a heat pump, but it's amazing. So thankful we invested in that for our home. Grateful. Yeah, so he kept my garden alive for me. So I came home and he was telling me about all the things that happened, and here's the status of this plant, and we were picking weeds and doing all the things. I keep looking out the window because we have dragonflies, and I just love watching them zoom around because I know they're eating all the bugs that I don't want around, like mosquitoes. So I watched the sidetrack. Today's a day, y'all. I watched the fat squirrels. I think it was her latest post this morning while I was drinking coffee and waking up and doing a little knitting. And she talked about mosquito bites, and I just thought, no, actually, I, knock on wood, have not, oh, sorry, Marjorie. So I knocked on the table. Marjorie got up, knocked over the camera. She's in the window. She's walking away, trying to figure out, what was that? It was me. Anyway, I haven't been bitten by any mosquitoes, and I'm really grateful and thankful. So whatever I can do to keep the dragonflies around, I totally want to do that, because I know last year we were trying to have a little campfire in our backyard. We have a little fire ring and everything, and had family over. We were roasting marshmallows, and while the sun was setting in that like dusk period, the mosquitoes were insane, like off the charts insane. We're in a burn ban. When I left, before I left, it was just like get ready for my trip mode, so there was no time to have a fire. Then I got back and we're in a burn ban because everything is dried out, and Yeah, my lawn is brown and crispy, so I totally get it. So no campfires unless we can go to a place where we can have a campfire, but if there's a burn ban here, usually there's a burn ban in the campgrounds as well. And I don't have to tell y'all that forest fires are real, and I really don't want to contribute to those things. So I don't know. I guess that's a downside to moving out here as opposed to where I grew up in Michigan. I feel like I do not have a single childhood memory where we couldn't have a campfire when we went camping because there was a burn ban. Like, I can't remember that ever happening. So anyway, it's been busy here. Also, my back is hurting again. So I promise there will be knitting. I just got to ramble a little bit to get all the overwhelming stuff off my chest. So I hurt my back last year, towards the end of winter, early spring, because it was getting nice outside and I was getting the garden ready, and I did a lot of bending and lifting and shoveling and bending and lifting and shoveling, and yeah, no surprise, I hurt my back because I went from sitting and knitting all winter to all of a sudden I'm being totally active and up and down and up and down. So I pulled ligaments and tendons in my lower spine where your spine connects to your hips. So all the things that help connect, I forget if they're ligaments or tendons that connect bone to bone, but the things that connect the spine to the hip, that's what I pulled. There were things I couldn't do. And anyway, today I did a thing. I went and bought new chairs for our dining room table, and they actually match our table. You would think they came in a set together, but they did not. We bought our dining room table off of Facebook Marketplace last year, and we kept our old chairs, and our old chairs are so mismatched. It's hilarious. Whatever. They were things to sit on. Well, I went scrolling through Facebook Marketplace again and found a set of 6 chairs to go with our table, and they frickin' match our table, and I'm so overjoyed by it. Well, I went and did that by myself today, so I packed them in the car, which was fun, and transported them here, cleaned them up. A couple of the legs were loose, so I tightened up the screws. No big deal. I got a super great deal on these chairs. Then I went to the store to do some shopping because there were some awesome sales on meat and coffee, and yeah, so I went to the store. None of these are big things. I go to lift the grocery bag out of the cart into the trunk of the car, and my back says no. So my back hurts, and it's awful. I hate when this happens because it's a little thing like that. But what I should have done is, after doing the chairs, I should have taken a break before going to the grocery store, and I did not. I was just so pumped and like, yeah, chairs, now I'm gonna go run errands. And I should have taken a break. So I'm paying for it now. But I want to bring you guys up to speed on my knitting. And haven't done any crocheting? No, the answer is no. So this is going to be a haphazard episode if you haven't figured that out already. I need to gather my knitting I need to go back through my logs and figure out what I did these past 2 months. I know what I did this morning. I know what I did last week, but I know I made something in June, but I can't remember. So I'm going to figure that out and share it with you. Thank goodness for Ravelry, which I love to use to keep track of my projects. I just went to the website to see what did I finish in the month of June, and I finished 2 things, and they are both socks. So the first finished pair of socks for the month of June was my scrappy socks. So these are knit out of all Patton's Croy sock yarn. And so I've made pairs of socks out of all of these different colors. Some for myself, mostly for my husband, my father, my sister. Did I use Patton's Croy for Mom? My mother-in-law. Yeah, so anyway. These are all different colorways that had some kind of marling in them, as well as the self-striping. So if you're not familiar with Patton's Croy sock yarn, there are some solid colors, but mostly what you'll find are self-striping colorways, which are mostly the ones that I purchase. I really enjoy self-striping yarn. For socks, it just keeps me moving forward through the knitting, and I really enjoy it. So I do not know the names of all of the colorways. I apologize. I would love to tell you that information, but I'm not going to try to hunt all of these down. I'm sorry. But what I did is I knit these socks top down. So I started at the cuff with a German twisted cast on. It is my #1 preferred cast on, and I love it because it's stretchy. And not only is it stretchy, but it doesn't get floppy, loose, and saggy. It maintains its structure, and I really love that about it. And that is the reason that I knit my socks top down, because I have not mastered the art of binding off a cuff that will either go over my foot, because I've made it too tight so it won't even go on my foot, or one that's too loose and I feel like it doesn't hold my sock up, it sags and flops over. So love it. If you have trouble with saggy tops on your socks, I would highly recommend that you at least give the German twisted cast on a try and see if you also enjoy it. Everyone's preferences are different, and knitting styles and how we hold our yarn and everything, so there isn't one size fits all, which also makes this craft beautiful. I did 1x1 ribbing. I prefer for my socks, so these I made for me, I prefer 1x1 ribbing. My husband prefers 2x2 ribbing, which is one of the ways we can tell our socks apart, or at least I can, because I made them and I remember. I did do a heel flap and gusset, and I do a heel flip that had a heel flap, not a heel flip. Heel flap that has a garter stitch edge on it, and I really like it. It makes picking up the stitches on the edge really clean. I don't have any extra bumps or things, and I like the look of it. And then just a standard toe. But what I did, since these are all self-striping colorways and I had different amounts of the different colors, is I just decided I was going to do the same number of rounds with each color. So each stripe here is 10 rounds of the self-striping yarn. In some of these 10 rounds, it looks like a solid color. But in some of them, like this one here, had the gray and the brown. That was all the 10 rounds of that one colorway, but it got two colors out of the striping sequence. So I thought that was kind of neat. I did decide to do the heel flap entirely in one colorway. I didn't want to be switching colors halfway through a heel flap. It just didn't interest me, and I think it looks nice this way. I did choose a color that I had enough of so I could do both heel flaps out of the same colorway, just to give these socks a little bit of we are a pair kind of sense. I also used the same colorway for the toes. But other than that, I did want the socks to look a little different. I did purposefully place the red. I only had a little bit of the red, and it's such a bright color compared to the others. I did put the red next to the heel on both socks, but I did one up on the leg, and then this one I did down on the foot. But they're both right there, kind of in the middle of the sock. So yeah, so I did use up 213 yards out of my stash to make these socks. And it's just scrap yarn that was balled up in a basket. And so that basket actually has more room in it now to accumulate new scraps when I make new socks. My second finished object for the month of June was another pair of socks, also for myself. And these are knit out of Knit Picks Felici in the dragon fruit colorway. You can see this is not a striping yarn, this is a solid color. I did use a little more than one ball of yarn, so I did go for shorty socks, and I was hoping I could do it with just one 50-gram ball of yarn. I did have to dip into the second one, but that's okay, because when I make another pair of shorty socks out of this colorway, I'll use a contrast color for the heel, and then it will also kind of help me tell these socks apart. So I don't know if you can see how fuzzy these are. I'm trying to get my face out of the picture. Can you see all that fuzz up there? Yeah. I suspect. So I wore these while I was in Texas with family, and I did pack quite a bit of clothes and things, but not enough knitted socks to really do a whole load like just dedicated to knitted socks. So full disclosure, I washed these socks with my regular clothing, like my t-shirts and my denim shorts and things like that. So I did not dry them. I hung them up on the line to dry, as I usually do, but I wonder if this fuzziness could possibly be because of that. I didn't put it in, usually at home, I wash knitted things with knitted things. All my socks together, maybe I'll toss in a sweater. And I always do it on, I put the setting on delicate. I did not do that. So they're fine. I just, when I put them on the blockers, I was like, wow, these are super fuzzy with a halo, and they did not have that before. So no, that halo is, you're not going to see that on the yarn when you buy it. and just be mindful of how you wash and take care of things. I have knit socks out of Knit Picks Felice before and haven't really had as much of this fuzziness, which is why I'm thinking it's probably how I washed things. So, again, cuff down because of reasons that I've already expressed. Heel flap and gusset, same thing, garter stitch edge, but this one is an Eye of Partridge heel. Every once in a while I like to throw in that little bit of texture. And the patterning I did is something I threw together from one of my knit stitch books. But I decided to call these socks my Strawberry Patch socks, partially because of the color. No, the color's not strawberry, it's dragon fruit. But it's this beautiful, like, pinkish red. And I was eating fresh strawberries from the garden at the time, and it just seemed appropriate. So these are my Strawberry Patch socks. They are a little bit taller than shorty socks I've made in the past, because I've realized that my shorty socks that would normally only have come up to here, even just where the ribbing starts, would have been the whole height on it. The back of the sock tucks under the back of my shoe, and then that part of my foot rubs on the back of my shoe, and it drives me crazy. So I've decided to make them a little bit taller so that that doesn't happen. And apparently that's like not a fashion faux pas right now, so I'm okay with it. These socks used up 227 yards out of my stash, so pretty happy about that. I'm super puzzled though on how these socks used 213 and these used 227. These are longer and everything. I don't get it. Anyway. Yeah, so that's what I managed to accomplish in the month of June, at least as far as finishing is concerned. I definitely had other projects going on the needles, some of which carried over into July, some of which I haven't touched in the month of July either. So let me go get what else is on my needles. So after finishing those two pairs of socks, I was totally on a sock high, and I cast on a pair for my husband, and I did finish one sock. Marjorie is back and demanding that I pet her, so I have one hand. And so I'm using, the main color here is obviously a self-striping yarn. It is Premier sock yarn. And I don't remember the colorway, and I can't find the tag right now, so I'll have to figure that out in a little bit. But yeah, that's the main color, and I'm making somewhat of a shorty sock for Michael. I think he likes his to go a little bit taller, so that's what I'm doing. I'm using this navy blue from Hobby. Two eyes? Two eyes? One eye? I don't know. It's in their packs of yarn called Black Friday yarn, Black Friday sock yarn. And I got the pack that comes with 2 navy blue and 2 light blue. And this navy blue yarn is so dark. Can you see that? It is dark, which looks great. It's really crappy to knit with. So yeah, I finished the first sock pretty quickly. And here's the second sock. And oh yeah, I messed up. That's why I stopped. I'm like mid, so I've got 2 16-inch circular needles, And I never stop like this, like halfway through a 16-inch needle. Because there's only 32 stitches, and like it's so easy to get across one. I would only ever do this if like something happened and I really had to step away. But I would have picked it back up. I messed up and I wasn't doing ribbing. I just knit. I don't know what I was doing. Oh, we were watching TV. It was kind of dark, and this is dark yarn I couldn't see. And yeah, did I do it on the front side too? Oh no, thank God. So this side I knit and purled correctly. This side I did not. So I have to rip this back. That's right. So this has been sitting in this bag since the beginning of July. So this has not been worked on at all this month because I messed up and I got irritated with that dark yarn and I just haven't picked it up. So I will pick that up again because I'm going to start walking on the treadmill again. Do you need to go outside? It's an emergency? Okay, I hear you. So I did make my summer making plans and I did want to cast on for those things right away. It didn't happen like right away because final exams were going on and I was getting ready for my trip and it was just stress. But I did. I started my projects and the first one that I started is the Luminous Tee. Oh my God, girl, really? Now she wants to come back in. Her timing is incredible. Let's try this again. I cast on the Luminous Tee by Yamagara, and it's my interesting construction project. I'm trying to pick projects with different like characteristics that I can focus on. So this one I kind of picked because not only does the finished object look nice and I want to wear it, but it's differently made. Like it's not just cast on around the neck and knit down, and it's interesting. So I did finish one side panel is what I'm gonna call it. And it is cut from the ball and everything. Sorry for the camera shaking. Marjorie's walking near the camera. And I got these little, I finally purchased some little stoppers for the ends of my knitting needles, although they're too big to go on my sock needles. But I just thought they were so cute. I just got them off Amazon. And yeah, so I packed this, took it with me to Texas, and did nothing with it. So it was a waste of backspace. Yeah, so I need to cast on the other side panel. And then when I have both of those made, I'll be able to join together for the body. So the yarn that I'm using, so I guess the main color there, what I just showed you, is Cloudborne Fibers. This is 100% fine Highland wool. The color is Iron Heather. It is a fingering weight yarn. Yes, fingering weight yarn. And the other color that I'm using is my hand spun. So this, I don't remember the blend. I have to look it up on my Ravelry page. Come here, Marjorie. Come here. Hi. I love you, but you're shaking the camera. Yeah, you're gonna make everyone seasick. I'm sorry if that's making you seasick. Yeah, this fiber we purchased on one of our road trip adventures, and we stopped at a yarn shop I've been to before in Oregon, and I bought this fiber. I bought two, oh my God, two different colors. One of them I think is mermaid, and I don't know what the other one was. seahorse, coral, I don't know. But I spun up the 2 singles and then plied them together, and it just created this really beautiful yarn. I was using these 2 together to knit a brioche shawl, and it looked okay. It didn't look amazing. It just looked okay. And I don't need a shawl that looks okay, because I'm not going to gravitate towards wearing it. So I ripped it out, and is now becoming my luminous tee. So yeah, I made most of that progress in late June, early July, before I left on my trip, and I haven't touched it since. I know, but part of it was because, like I said, I needed to be available to get up, help out if it was needed. And for that, because of the interesting construction, I did actually print the pattern, because I have to keep referencing it, and it just uses up so much battery on my phone to be looking it up, and it's a small screen and all of that good stuff. So I didn't really work on this on my trip like I thought I would, because I'd have to keep reading the pattern. So I worked on something else instead. The other thing that I worked on is the thing that I'm trying to untangle here. Cumulus Tee by Petite Knit. And I am knitting the, I guess you would call it the original, with the V-neck. So I like a V-neck. I like having it open around my neck. I've gotten to a point in my life where I can't wear turtlenecks anymore because I just gag the whole time. I feel like I'm being choked. And I know I'm not being choked, but I cannot tolerate turtlenecks. It's really unfortunate because I used to like wearing them. I can't. It's a no for me. So yeah, V-neck t-shirt, I'm totally in. So yeah, I made awesome progress on this thing. As you can see, it is just stockinette stitch in the round, so I'm literally just knitting. I did pretty much all of the increases in shaping and stuff before I flew out to Texas. I did have to finish a few, just a handful of rounds of still doing raglan increases here. And then I had to put my sleeve stitches on waist yarn, cast on a few for the underarm, join in the round kind of thing, but that was super easy to do. In fact, what I did is I told my dad, okay, you're on duty now while I do this round in my pattern. So when mom calls for something, you have to respond to the call and not me. And he agreed, and it was totally fine. But yeah, so I'm a good 4 or 5 inches below the underarm. I need to try this thing on, honestly. I have not tried this on at all. And if you've been watching this podcast, this YouTube channel, whatever the technical term is, if you've been watching me for a little while, you know that I've had some issues with garments being way too large. And I don't try them on for a long time. And here we are again with me not trying stuff on for a long time. So I'm really hopeful that it fits. I know, it makes me want to cry too at the thought of it. But yeah, so the yarn is 100% cotton. It is a fingering weight yarn. I purchased it at Joann's. That's where I got it. It was at Joann's. Yep. Yeah, the color's okay. So this is KC Knit and Crochet. Oh my god. Marjorie, you really want to play right now with a loud squeaky toy? No one in this house is used to me podcasting out here. This is hilarious. Okay, so this is knit and crochet, 100% cotton. Joann's was having a sale on yarn, and this was 30% off. And so I was like, okay, I'm getting it for this project because I need something for this project. I was going to order from Knit Picks online, but then I saw this, and while the prices were pretty similar, the fact that I got to see this color in person and not on a computer screen and hoping I'm seeing it correctly, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this. So the colorway here is Sea Dragon, which I like. Being in the Seattle area, and our new hockey team, their mascot is a kraken, and everything's blue and green for sports colors. There's also some purple in here, but and I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I play a video game with dragons, and anyway, so there you go. Yeah, I was a little worried about the variegated colorway, but I think it looks great, actually. I really like the pearl side because the colors are just so blended, right? Like, I love it. And then, I mean, the knit side is good too. But there's part of me that's like, what would this garment look like if I flipped it inside out and wore the pearl side out? So I'm at this point leaving that open as an option. I believe there are some like I-cord edging details to do, like on the neck and stuff. So I don't know if this will end up being a completely reversible garment in the end. But if I like the pearl side better, then I might just do those finishings so that this becomes the right side. I don't know. It just looks so cool. It looks great both ways. Anyway, yeah, this is just knit in the round. The only thing I have to do is slip my beginning of round marker, which is a dumbbell weight kind of thing. No, it's not heavy, it's just a charm, but yeah, it's really hard to see progress on that thing. I haven't been using a progress keeper to mark, hey, I was at this row when I started sitting down to knit tonight, and how far have I made it. I thought about doing that, I just haven't gotten around to it. It is what it is. But I can tell you that this is the second ball of yarn. So I did use up the first ball entirely in the yoke. I had to join the second ball in the yoke, like before splitting for the sleeve. Maybe 3 rounds before splitting for the sleeve. It was really close. Yeah, so I'm in the second ball, and this is pretty light. I'd say this is less than half of the second ball. And I have a third one. I have a third skein that I purchased, and I'll definitely get it done in the 3. I think I probably will have to dip into the third one, so that makes me glad that I bought 3. And yeah, I'm gonna have to try that on. I'm a little scared to do that because I don't want to be disappointed, but I should just do it now before I finish the whole thing, because once I finish it, then I'm just gonna finish it. So I mentioned Joann's had a sale on their yarn. They also, when I went shopping, had tables set up in the main aisle where you enter the store. And this table was covered in boxes, and those boxes were filled with yarn. And as soon as I spotted a red sticker on said yarn, I shuffled through all the boxes, figuring out what is in here, what is on sale, what are they trying to get rid of. And I limited myself to only purchasing cotton yarn for making towels and dishcloths. I did. I was good in that respect. So I have sugar and cream in beach glass. I bought 2 of these in beach glass. I bought 2 of these in dazzle blue. And I bought 2 of these in mod blue. So we've got this kind of color scheme going on. And yeah, I like it. So this to me screams summer vibes. It also screams beach, not just because of the name beach glass, but have you seen the show Doc Martin? It's a British TV show. We've seen them all. So my mom and Michael's mom both recommended the show to us. And so we're like, well, we gotta watch it now because they're both saying it's good. It takes place in a little seaside town. And when you see the rooms of the restaurant and the pharmacy and all their little shops, they all have like those beach wall colors, right? Like this green and coral and stuff like that. So anyway, it totally gave me Doc Martin vibes. This is basically the color of the pharmacy, which if you've seen the show, you see that building a lot. This color is in that show a lot. And so anyway, it just gave me like Doc Martin seaside tourist town vibes. So I had to get it. You know what's funny though, is that you see this, and then you see this. And there's definitely like a color theme that was going on in my shopping cart that day. So I have been doing a bit of tidying up around the house, and I just felt the need to cast on a smaller project other than all these big sweaters and things that I have going on. And I thought, oh my god, July, I cast this on yesterday. So I thought, oh my god, July is almost over and I finished nothing this month. Maybe I can knit something. So I should have gone with a dishcloth because it would have been done yesterday. I'm still not done. I went with a towel. So I'm knitting a towel. I'd love to weave towels again, but my loom is currently broken and I need to order parts and replace them. But yeah, so I am almost done with the first ball here of my sugar and cream. Each of these has how many yards in it? 190 yards. My hope is that I'll be able to finish this whole thing without dipping into the second one, but if I do have to dip into the second one, that's fine. But yeah, so I cast on like a, my grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern or Granny's favorite dishcloth or whatever. And I took a towel out of the kitchen and kept sizing it up against there to get the right width. And then I started kind of knitting on the bias here. Gosh, this is hard to hold up. To keep the same stitch count so that I could make it a rectangle. And then I got the length that I wanted. Again, just using a towel from my kitchen that I like the size of. And now I'm just doing the decreases. I'm in the decrease section, and it should be finished tonight. So it's possible this will be a finished object for the month of July, and the only one, which is kind of sad, but that's okay. I am still enjoying knitting on my Cumulus tee, even though it is insanely boring and just knitting. I think it's kind of what I need right now, is just something boring. So it's been great. My mind's been able to wander and be a little bit scattered, and then I don't have to focus on my knitting. So it's been kind of nice. So I obviously brought yarn into my stash over the past couple of months. And I have a few goals for the year. So one of my goals is that I want to use more out of my stash than what I bring in. So I'm not saying don't buy anything. I'm just saying buy less, use more, bring in less. So I'm keeping track of those numbers. I don't have those numbers in front of me at the moment. So I will be calculating them, and I will put them on the screen so that you will be able to see how many yards of yarn I brought in to my stash so far this year, and how many yards I have used up out of my stash. And when I count something as being used up, the project has to be marked as finished to really check it off of the list. So things that are still in progress don't count yet, right? Another one of my goals is to make at least one garment every season this year. So far this year we have gone through all of winter and all of spring, and we're currently in summer. And so I did complete a garment for winter. I made a cappuccino cardigan, and I did complete at least one garment for spring. In fact, I finished 2 of them, right? I had my Breckenridge topper cardigan. And what was the other one? Was it the only one? No, my blue t-shirt. What was that called? Solidego. Yes, so I actually finished 2 in spring, but I'm keeping up with my goal of at least 1 every season. So for summer, I'm making really good progress on my Cumulus tee. The Luminous seems a lot quicker, so my hope is to finish both of those. And then I have a 3rd garment piece on my list as well that I'd like to get to as well. But at this point, I'd settle for just casting it on. So yeah, I'm making good forward momentum with my goals. I think I've set them in a way that they're attainable and reasonable. I like to set goals that are way up here and there's no possible way I could meet them. So I think I've done a better job this year, and it makes me really happy. So I am really glad to be back. I'm glad to be back home and recording and knitting and gardening and doing all the things. So until next time, I hope that you stay safe, stay healthy, and that you enjoy your crafts, whatever they may be. Bye.